Okay, in this session we're going to spend time talking a little bit about how to have a productive dialogue with your own team. And one of the exercises that I use in virtually every session I do, whether it's a keynote address or a leadership retreat, um, even sometimes just a business meeting, depending upon the circumstances and the purpose of the meeting, is we start with the little exercise we call best in class. And basically what I do is I'll ask the team to think about those organizations or companies that are recognized as, in their minds, the very best of organizations. Those are the ones who are continuously showing sustained superior performance, head and shoulders performance, however you want to describe it. And the idea there is to start capturing their thinking. What are some of the organizations that pop up in their minds? And I will have to tell you that, just for illustration purposes, I will see Microsoft. I heard one radio commentator refer to Microsoft as the Darth Vader of software. Um, you get Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines in the United States is a low-cost provider, quick turnarounds, and recognized for a high-value, low-cost operation. Um, Disney Corporation. I usually have to illustrate Disney a little differently because people recognize Disney's um, for its mouse ears. And there'll be a variety of any other kinds of organizations. Interestingly enough, depending upon the industry I'm working with, I tend to see some of the same kinds of organizations that are consistent with their industry. And once we've done that, I then ask them, why do we think of those companies? What is it about those organizations that makes them different? And in respect to their competitors, and that would mean, how do they stand out? So we begin capturing. What I will hear quite frequently are things like it's customer service, how they deal with their customers. It might be that they're consistent. Companies like McDonald's, you may not like um, the value nutritionally of the meals that you get there, but they're always consistently the same. I will hear things about how those are pretty innovative organizations, and some are more into innovations than others. And I'll hear things like they are always leading the pack. In other words, creating the market. Once we've done that for a little bit, and we've captured some of those ideas, I will refer to the group to a great little book entitled The Discipline of Market Leaders by Fred Wursema and Michael Tracy. And they have three concepts that they operate from. And this is how great organizations differentiate themselves from their competitors. And there's three characteristics. The first one is product leadership, and that is that those organizations are consistently creating the market. Uh, for example, in the past few years, I think one of the best examples of that is Apple, and how they have literally transformed the market in terms of the technology that they use in their hardware that is significantly different than other computer organizations. So product leadership. Short version on that is new, best, first. New, best, and first. And there is this concept that if you're the first one in the market and you have a great product and it's new, you will be able to dominate that market for a considerable period of time. The next idea is what they refer to as operational excellence. And by that, we're talking about processes, procedures, policies, uh, high value and low cost. So these organizations are ones that clearly represent that in many respects. In the United States, one of the companies that constantly comes up in that consideration is the company we know as Walmart, started by Sam Martin, some Walton, Sam Walton, some years ago, best known for what they do at best, and that is supply chain management. And the last concept is customer intimacy. And by that, we mean that those organizations that are the very best here are ones that um, are always thinking of their customer first. That is their number one priority. A great example, again, in the United States is the Ritz-Carlton hotels. Uh, Legendary in many respects. Now, the interesting concept behind this is that all organizations will, depending upon where they're trying to concentrate, will have a dynamic tension between these kinds of ideas. So, being new best first up against operational excellence, and the dynamics between customer intimacy and customer and operational excellence. Here's the key point. If you want to be recognized as one of the very best organizations, bar none, you must be recognized uh, by your competitors and your customers as either the product leader, best in operational excellence, or customer intimacy. One of the three. The catch is that in order to maintain that position, you must at least be meeting industry standards in the other two. So if I'm the product leader, if I'm Apple, and I'm out there trying to drive the market, to dominate that market with the technology um, of the latest thing in computers or iPads or telephones, cell phones, then I have at least got to meet industry standards in operational excellence and customer intimacy. Otherwise, I inadvertently undermine the value proposition for which I want to be recognized. Let me give you an example of that. A few years ago, Dell Computers, which really operated in this area of operational excellence, they weren't out there trying to produce new products. They were taking advantage of existing products and building the best priced computers. They outsourced their call centers to India and inadvertently created a problem because of communications. The short version was that with all the problems that it created, it undermined their value proposition of operational excellence, because why would I want to buy a computer from an organization that when I need support I have to talk to someone who I have a hard time communicating with? So the idea there is that you've got to be aware of both of those ideas, that if you're going to be the very best, you must be the very best and maintain industry standards in the other two. Why is this important for working with your team? I have learned over time that leaders, for example, assume that their organizations understand what their value proposition is in the marketplace, and yet they have not truly tested that out. So my idea is that if you're in an organization and you have a leadership role, you ought to be constantly aware and testing your people around What is our value proposition? What do we bring to the marketplace that is uniquely different? And what you're going to learn as a leader in your role is how do your people see the differentiators from your competitors? How do you see yourselves in terms of those characteristics that best represent your company or your organization? And then if there's a gap between expectations and reality, then the leader's role is really important about creating that vision. There's going to be a little exercise on that, juxtaposed to current reality, and ensuring that we're doing whatever we can in the company to bring current reality towards that vision. So this exercise is a great little exercise I recommend for you to use. There's three key points. One is recognizing that organizations are characterized as best in class, that they do that by establishing a value proposition in one of three areas, and that leadership's role is ensuring that we know what that gap is and how to close the gap between our current reality and the vision. I recommend this exercise. It's a great way to have a dialogue with your team, and over the course of time, come back periodically and ask yourselves, how are we doing in these areas? Are we still taking advantage of our opportunities to lead the market in one of the three disciplines? Where do we need to make improvements? How do we make those improvements? And I think what you'll find is the more you engage in this dialogue, the greater the understanding your team will have, not only in terms of your perspectives of the value of the organization, but why the vision that you've set for this company or this organization is going to be the one that's going to drive us towards that being best in class, recognized organization. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'll be happy to help you in any way I can.